Hey everyone, it's Richard Metalfan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2021 album review. And today we're going to be talking about the new album from one of my favorite bands ever, and one of my opinion, probably one of the best bands going right now in the deathcore genre. And as you can see by the title, today we're going to be talking about the new album from the band Carnifex entitled Graveside Confessions, which is out now through Nuclear Blast Records. Now, Carnifex, if you're if you're not familiar with them, they're a deathcore band based out of San Diego, California, that formed in 2005. And I've been listening to these guys for probably the last 7 or so years. I've heard of them, but it wasn't until 2013, 2014 when I really started getting into them. And I've seen these guys 7 times. I'm actually going to see them at the end of this month, near the end of this month, with the Black Dahlia Murder at the Center Stage in Atlanta. So hope to see you all there. And these guys, in my opinion, probably with every album they've done, going from like their debut album Dead in My Arms, they definitely have stepped it up a little bit. They're kind of that whole like MySpace era deathcore bands, probably coming up with like Suicide Silence and Whitechapel and bands like that. But what really, for me, what Carnifex stands out with, especially coming back with the 2014's Die Without Hope, they have a lot more symphonic kind of like orchestration elements, and they definitely have like almost have a little bit of black metal in them. And this album is the band's 8th overall full-length album, and this follows up their previous album, which came out in 2019, called World War X. And this album is totally a step up from that. And this is actually their longest album to date. It all clocks in at pretty much about an hour, and this has 15 tracks. So, and production wise, I think compared to like Dead in My Arms to now, they've definitely, production wise, they stepped it up. Vocally, my good buddy Scott Lewis, he definitely has shown a really great development. Has like those sort of like low gutturals and does high kind of like shrieks. I just think he, in my opinion, is one of the best vocalists in deathcore. The guitar work from Corey Arford, for this is the first album that they did since probably Bleed Out Dead My Arms, where they're a 4-piece, like, but Corey's pretty much handling all the guitar duties now, and I think he really stepped it up. And the bass playing is pretty audible. Fred Calderon, and it's definitely, you could definitely hear it go well in the mix. And I think the bass also shows case, not just with rhythm, but also with melody as well. And drumming wise, my buddy Sean Cameron does a really great job, but with like blast beats and everything, it just fucking rips you a new one. So without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is the title track of the album, Graveside Confessions. Now, it pretty much right from the get-go sets out to showcase the maturity of the band's sound and just their approach to the music. And with this album, they're pretty much at a point of putting it to perspective how only something gets good and better without compromise. And I love like the use of like ambient sections, and the music just comes across the record and adds sort of like an environment of like suspense, and a couple of sort of like the string sections across this album, and all the extremes of this band music just spreads themselves out very well. And I think it's a great way to start things out. And then we get to Pray for Peace. Now, Pray for Peace is a pretty good song. It almost has a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit, and it's just really a catchy song that I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Pray for Peace is a really great song. Just from the guitar work and the vocal patterns and everything. It's a sick song. Then we move on to Seven Souls. Now, Seven Souls is pretty much up my alley. It's just a banging song, just like the slaughtering drums just destroy it like a million beats per minute, and it just rattles your skull and leaving your brain just like ugh. And just over a minute into the track, I just lost it, and just the clobber to my face. And the track bleh, can't even speak today. As the track goes, and like there's the blackened sort of like melodic elements come alive, and the guitars are more conspicuous, and I am just fucking livid, and just a fucking great song. Next up is Curse. Now, this is actually a re-recording from the song they put out last year. Last year was just called Cursed Isolation Mix. It was just something that they were working on while their tour got canceled last year, because right when the whole pandemic started. And this song is, I think, is a lot. This version sounds better than the original. It sounds like typical Carnifex. It's just some cool symphonic and sort of like the black metal undertones. But it's not one of my favorite songs. But I really think this is a great new direction that they're going in. Next up is Carry Us Away. Now, Carry Us Away is just brutal in every way, and this is just a kick in the teeth all the way through. And the highlights for me are the vocal department from Scott Lewis, and the gutturals, which are used to an extent, which, as I refer to that, then sort of like the screams that he is known for. But I think that's a really great song in his department. Next up is Talk to the Dead. Now, Talk to the Dead, another great song. I think it's pretty sick. January Nights. Now, January Nights is a really good instrumental piece. It's just placed right in the middle. I just like the placement of it. And it just gives you the break of like the intensity and just the violence that you experienced so far. And then we jump right back into it with Cemetery Wander, which, just pummels your brain yet again after just that moment of just nice soothingness. Then we get to Countess of Perpetual Torment. Now, this song is pretty interesting. It has a really great structure and just moments of also pure intensity, sort of melodic passages, and sort of like the time changes are just full of like blast beats. Like, I don't know how Sean does it, but damn, it's great. And then we get to Dead Bodies Everywhere. Now, Dead Bodies Everywhere is actually a cover song originally done by the band that started the new metal movement in the mid to late 90s, Korn. And this version is a pretty decent effort. It's heavier and it's packed to the brim with so much rawness, and I just think it's has a lot of like the blast beats, and I don't think you really hear blast beats in a Korn song, but I think I really like Carnifex's interpretation of it. Moving on to the next song, which is called Cold Dead Summer, which I think would just be a great song to go in a live setting. It makes you just mosh in the pit. And there's like a low chuggy section, which adds sort of like beautifully, but then more aggressive parts of the music come in. And one of my favorite parts is the blast beats are just crushing in the guitars and the bass. But there's also like a string section that just comes right in, even for a little while. And I feel like it's the magic sauce, like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And I love seeing sort of like the different parts of the music. Moving on to Alive for the Last Time, another sick song. I fucking think it's great. And then we get to the last three songs are actually some re-recorded versions, or called the Graveside editions, of Collaborating Like Killers, My Heart in Atrophy, and Slit Wrist Savior, which is actually stuff from their Dead My Arms and even their self-titled EP. Now, normally when bands like re-record songs, it's usually they like take it or leave it, but this song versions are actually kind of similar to the original ones, but they actually sound a lot more thicker. It sounds like the whole like their whole MySpace era kind of type songs, but like in 2021. Like, imagine songs that go from like 2006 to 7 with the production of 2021. It just, I feel like it adds sort of like a new little life, especially with Carnifex sort of like changing up their style. But I just think that the newer versions of these songs, the Graveside editions of the last three songs, are pretty good. Now, overall, Graveside Confessions by Carnifex is a pretty good album. Like, the boys definitely stepped it up again. So if I had to give this album a score, I'm going to give Graveside Confessions by Carnifex a solid 8.5 out of 10. That's it. That's my review of the new album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.